Morning, this is Josh here at Mass Gunworks. I was working on a Savage Axis today, and I just wanted to show you guys some things about the Axis that I think are kind of interesting. And one of the reasons that I tend to gravitate towards Savages when I recommend rifles to customers if they want to build one is because of some of the innovative things that they do with how they put their rifles together. I did a video, if you go into my catalog of videos, it's probably halfway down, called Remington versus Savage. It's kind of long-winded, but I go over a lot of the differences that I noticed in the two platforms, specifically to do with how to accurize them. So like blueprinting and things like that, there were some major differences I noticed that have drawn me, toward the Savage over the years as I've continued to work on it. So with that being said, I want to start with the stocks. So Savage Axis typically comes with just a polymer stock, okay, no frills, butts hollow. You've got some honeycombing in here for weight reduction. There are a lot of things you can do with this stock specifically to make the rifle more accurate. You've got a lot of movement and flex right here. You can take and fill this whole cavity with epoxy and like take some 177 caliber BBs like you'd buy at Walmart and put them in there to add some weight and stiffness. And then you can put some like electrical tape on the bottom of your barrel and set it down in there as well and make sure that's all free floated and add weight here. Another thing I've seen people do is fill this full of spray foam. And again, you can, put some spray foam in, put some BBs in, put some spray foam in, and just keep layering it like that until it's all the way out the top. Shave it off where it needs to be shaved off, and then put your butt pad back on. And what that does is it'll add a little bit of weight, make it a little bit stiffer. They come with metal pillars. I don't know if you can see that very well, already in them. So there's a pillar there and a pillar here. And then this is the recoil lug, okay? So this is a Tikka style recoil lug. This is a recoil lug I've seen Tikka use on their rifle actions. It's a pretty interesting recoil lug design. One thing that I do, and a lot of guys do when they go to bed in action, is they will remove some material up here in the stock where the recoil lug sits in, and they'll put bedding compound in there. And what that does is when you clamp the action down on the stock and let the epoxy dry, it gives this recoil lug a very snug, solid fit. So as you shoot the rifle, okay, the action is trying to jump back this way, all right? And if it's loose in its bedding, what it's going to do is this recoil lug is going, in the whole action, honestly, is going to jump back in the stock just a little bit. And it's going to be an imperceptible amount for you. You're not going to look at it and go, holy cow, my action moved to my stock. It doesn't move like a half an inch or anything. It's just a couple thousandths of an inch of movement, but it's enough that it causes vibration and it will affect accuracy downrange. And eventually, if you have a wood stock especially, you'll begin to see a crack develop right here, okay? And it's because as this moves up here, it treats this rear action screw in the rear tang of your action like a splitting maul, and it just starts to develop a crack. So that's why, guys bed actions up here pretty religiously. Just adds stiffness and makes the lockup between the stock and the action more solid, and it prevents splitting back here. So anyway, what Savage has done is they have solidly bedded this recoil lug into the action. So on the rifle action itself, if you look at the bottom here, there's a cutout. Okay, and this cutout pretty precisely fits the recoil lug. I want to get my set of calipers out here. I know some of you guys joke around and call these close enoughs, but I want to measure this recoil lug. And this recoil lug is about 192 thousandths. Yeah, 192 thousandths, 193. And this cutout that it fits in is 193 and a half. So it's a pretty precise fit. Measure this side here. Oh, I was wrong, 195. So there's just enough space there for that recoil lug to slip into its home here on the action, and then that grabs the receiver and keeps it from coming back and hitting you in the head. But anyway, it's an innovative way to do the recoil lug. So another thing I've seen people do is they'll just ditch the stock. Totally fine. Totally fine. These stocks are plastic. It's going to take some time and effort to make this stock not as flexible as it is. But at the end of the day, I mean, you've still got a cheap black stock that's made out of plastic. So one thing that I've seen guys do, and that I have actually done, is go to Boyds stocks and just order a new stock. Okay, they make really nice stocks. This one's a laminate. I'm not real sure what model it is. I think it's like a Prairie Hunter or something like that. But it's really well done. It's got a nice comb on it, good cheek piece, really good pistol grip. It's kind of flared out right here, give you a good purchase. It comes with 3 sling swivels, so you've got one up here for a bipod. You can see this customer supplied one for me to put on, and then there's one back here, and then your other one for your sling. Good butt pad. This one is set up to where you can bench rest shoot and get in here and you got a little grippy angle here, so you can really get in behind it. Set it on a bag. It's a good stock. So the thing you got to understand about this, none of these stocks are truly what I would call drop-in. I mean, yeah, there's probably some of them, like I just put a new stock on a 1903 Springfield, and for the most part, it was plug and play. The spring clip that holds the barrel band up in the front, just behind the bayonet lug, I had to cut some wood out, so that fit great, but for the most part, it really truly was a drop-in. This one, I went ahead and ordered a pillar bed kit, because these do not come pillar bedded. It's just a stock, okay? So I ordered a aluminum pillar bed kit and an aluminum trigger guard, and then this piece right here is the magazine catch, okay? And your front action screw goes through this, and this is the other piece that holds the action in the stock. So I wrote the name of the person I bought this off of eBay. There's a bunch of different places you can get them, but when I find sellers that sell stuff and they get it to you in a timely fashion, I like to let you guys know it's Industries LLC, and they're on eBay. They don't sell it as a kit. You get the pillar bedding stuff and the trigger guards separately, but you need to get both of them if you're going to get them. They're 36 and change a piece, so you're probably looking at $75 total for these upgrade parts. But look, so Boyds, they send plastic one and a plastic mag catch. So the issue I have with plastic is plastic breaks easy. You're supposed to torque these screws down to 36 inch-pounds. Okay, so if I over torque, I am going to break this. And then the pieces that your rifle is depending on to hold it into its bedding are more or less gone. So they don't really serve a good purpose. So I mean, I'll just walk you through this a little bit. So what we did, we took, and I had to drill this hole out just a little bit. Okay, this hole is a 1/4 inch hole, and if you're going to put this pillar in, you need to drill it out to around 3/8 of an inch. And after you get it to 3/8, you got to take a round wood rasp. It's also known as a rat tail file. Okay, and you got to get in there and work it around, because it's a little bit bigger than 3/8. I think it's like a 25/64. I didn't have that drill bit, so I just bored it out with a 3/8 and then massaged it in. If you have a milling machine and you have a 3/8 end mill, that will honestly be the best way to make this hole bigger, because I've found with using end mills to enlarge holes in wood especially, I don't tend to blow the bottom of the hole out. If I'm using a drill bit, because it's got that conical shape, as it goes in and it's boring, it's gonna splinter out the bottom of the hole. Whereas if I'm using an end mill, something about it having that flat bottom and those good cutting surfaces, it doesn't tend to blow the bottom of the hole out. So I didn't have to do that to this one up here. It was already the proper size. Pressed it in. Once you get that done, you'll take your magazine catch and push it up in its home and really push on it good and hard. And then this bushing will come out a little bit, and you just shave it off smooth, okay? Because when this rifle beds down in here, it's pretty well going to come down and contact. It won't contact it perfectly. It rarely ever does, but it's pretty well going to come down and contact the bottom of this wood. What else? So same with this one, okay? So you put it in place, get it seated, and then you need to take your trigger guard plate, seat it in place, and it's going to push this out a little bit, okay? Well, once again, you just cut that off flush, okay? One thing you need to watch with these Savage Axis is, because of the way the trigger and the safety and everything is positioned, you want to, when you get these pillars shaved down to the proper size and in place, you want to go ahead and assemble the rifle. Back here, I had to cut some wood out because there was interference and the safety wouldn't operate. And then up here, from time to time, I've had to take and shave some of this pillar off, because the front of the trigger right here may or may not, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Disregard that. This piece right here, the sear, may or may not interfere with that from time to time. So there's some little little fitment things you have to do. Another thing I had to do with this bottom screw here is a wood screw. So I had to move the trigger guard up a little bit because the holes were misaligned and I wasn't able to get into my receiver threads. So I moved this up. Now we reposition this hole. So what I did is I took some toothpicks and some wood glue. I just stuck them in the hole and cut them off flush. And then when the wood glue dried, I was able to re-drill this hole and get that screw sent home. So not a whole lot of work, but I mean, if you want to do it right, you gotta take the time. Okay, you got to be patient. Don't get in a rush. All right. So yeah, I think this rifle turned out beautiful, and I hope the customer's happy with it. I hope it gives him the accuracy he wants. There's with the Savage axes, once you get it pillar bedded, I really don't know that there's a whole lot more that you could do to bed it. I mean, you could go in here and put bedding compound down here and all that, but you got metal on metal contact, okay? And this recoil lug is pretty tightly fit. So I don't really see a whole lot of people picking this as a PRS rifle or a 1,000-yard bench rest rifle. This is a rifle that you're probably going to buy because you're going pig hunting in Florida and you want something to get it done. It's good for that. It's real good for that. It's a good off-the-shelf, value-oriented rifle. This stock right here is in the neighborhood of $200 and under for this stock. I believe they retail like $165, and then after tax and shipping, you're probably looking close to $200. Good quality stock. Okay, this rifle is probably $450, $500. And then, you know, if you send it to someone like me, I'm probably going to charge you $200 to do all the work, the stuff in. So you're up around $800 plus after you get the work done, buy the upgrade parts. Again, Savage Axis, good rifle. It's a good platform to build from. It's an accurate rifle. I have one that I've done all this stuff to, and I can consistently hit a 750-yard target with a pretty good group. But it is a rifle that if you're going to buy it and you want to really get the mileage out of it, you're going to have to put a little bit of money into it. So anyway, just wanted to give you that quick overview, show you some things about bedding the stock in, share that information with you about a good place to get some upgrade parts. I hope you found this informative. If so, give me a like, subscribe. Appreciate hearing from you guys. One of these days, I'll go through a detailed breakdown of the bolt and how to blueprint one of these. I know I've had some people ask about that. It's not real tough. I mean, you need a lathe, obviously. Excuse me, but it's not horribly difficult if you have the right machine. So, if you have any questions, comments, think I'm full of crap, you know, leave it in the comments. Let's debate. I enjoy reading you guys' comments and just seeing what you think and going back and forth with you a little bit, because it helps me learn, helps you learn. And as long as we can keep it respectful, I think we're all going to benefit. So look forward to hearing from you. Hope you have a good day. See you.